We are here today to mourn the loss of Singapore's greatest son. He was a bright light that guided us. That light is no more. Since Monday, we have seen the tremendous outpouring of emotions amongst Singaporeans. Yesterday, Ms. Chia Yong-yong spoke in Parliament. She is a nominated member of Parliament. She was on a wheelchair, and that is her on the photo. She said, because she was born in Singapore when Mr. Lee was in charge, she got a good education, she became a professional, and she is now in Parliament. My own life story, which is the life story of many of you and your children. I was born in March of 1959, 2 months before Mr. Lee became Prime Minister. My family was not well off. We bought our first flat in 1975, a 3-room flat. Before that, we lived in rental housing. I never ever thought that I will be a minister. I'm not crying because I wanted to be a minister. Wow, I wanted a bigger house. I'm crying because we have lost Mr. Lee. I never thought, in fact, that I will even be in politics. I had thought I'll be a teacher. With luck, maybe I'll go to university. I went to a neighborhood school called Newton Boys School. The school doesn't even exist anymore. Mr. Lee's meritocratic system meant that I could go to RI and then to law school. He created a system that gave us all equal opportunities, regardless of whether you are Malay, Indian, or Chinese, or what your religion was. What we have achieved depended on our own effort, and of course, some luck. This is a story in many ways of this, all of you and all of your children. You hear thousands and thousands of such stories. Let me share some personal anecdotes that will shed light on Mr. Lee's values. I first met him in 1987 when he interviewed me to see whether I was suitable to be a candidate. He cross-examined me for 45 minutes. I was young, and as young are likely to be, I was not very scared of him. I told him I disagreed with his policies, and I said why I disagreed. He was very fatherly. He said he understood my position, though he disagreed. And then he said, young man, one day you will grow up, and you will have experience, and then you will understand. It was not a question of money. He believed as a principle that there should not be waste. It's a simple illustration, but this was central to frugality, both in his personal life and in government. His exercise shorts, for example, for 17 years he wore the same shorts. And when it broke or tore, he patched it up. Or his wife patched it up for him. That is the man. And he was very careful with the government money in the same way, because it is your money. His principles have been good, and it is shown in big and small things in the way the government is run. Every week we have a cabinet meeting. Every week. Even this week, PM called for a cabinet meeting. We meet every week, regardless of what happens. We meet first for lunch. Sometimes not, but sometimes, almost always we meet for lunch. And this is not a social lunch. We discuss government business. Cabinet meeting is after the lunch. Mr. Lee doesn't attend the lunch. But his rules, because you have to eat lunch anyway, he says you have to pay for the lunch. Even though you are coming to cabinet to discuss cabinet meeting, you have lunch, you pay for the lunch. The government doesn't pay for the lunch. We must be the only cabinet in the world that does that when we meet to discuss government. But it is good because in every way we are reminded every day that public money should be carefully spent. He gave me advice and he was a mentor to many. Let me share 2 pieces of advice he gave me about becoming a minister. He asked me when I was in my 30s what career I was thinking about. I told him I saw myself as a lawyer. I told him I didn't see myself as a full-time politician. I saw myself going the usual route that lawyers take. He told me this very seriously. I know you, he said. You're a good lawyer, you're successful, and you'll be even more successful. But you should serve Singapore. He told me, don't spend all your time staying purely in the law. You can help your clients. You can do things. You can make more money. But you can do much more for your country. If everyone stays outside, who is going to work in the public service? He said. You should serve the people in a broader way. And he told me, you can do it. As a minister, you can make a bigger difference to the lives of the people. Over the years, I've dealt with him on many occasions, as his lawyer, as a person who spoke with him on legal matters, as a member of parliament, and of course, as a minister. His analytical brilliance was at a completely different level. And he had the habit of calling you at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. First question he will ask is, what are you doing? So you want to say to him, what do people do at 3 a.m.? But anyway, you don't speak like that to Mr. Lee. Each time, every interaction with him, I came away thinking how lucky Singapore is to have had Mr. Lee. Friends, as we remember Mr. Lee, the best thing we can do in memory of Mr. Lee is to make Singapore strong, successful. If we survive and prosper, if there is a SG 100 following SG 50, then we and our children would have lived true to his principles. Principles which were focused on the well-being of the people of Singapore and the survival and the prosperity of Singapore. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew is around us all in spirit. It is a spirit shown by the thousands of people who are queuing up for hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Old men and women, young couples with babies, teenagers, working adults, old men and women who can hardly stand. By this morning, 420,000 people had visited community sites all over Singapore. And 220,000 people had visited the lying-in state in Parliament. Last night, I met a lady, Madam Kwek Po Neo. You see her photograph. 2 a.m., outside Parliament, 2 a.m. She has high blood pressure. She cannot stand for too long. She actually came on Wednesday, on the 25th of March, waited for hours. She couldn't wait longer because of her medical condition. She went home without managing to pay tribute to Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Then she came back again last night and waited for another 3 hours by the time I saw her. We had to refer her to the medical station nearby because of her medical condition. She got her final wish to pay. She got her wish to pay final respects to Mr. Lee. This is how the people love Mr. Lee. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people like Madam Kwek, who have never met Mr. Lee, feel that emotional closeness. There is not going to be another Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. I think we all know that. Mr. Lee, Singapore will always remember you and salute you